Hello, Jose Lu from Spain. No, Jeffy, I'm not going to paint the hand. The hand is done. I've had enough of the hand. Yeah, can you hear it in the background? Is it too loud? Should I turn it down? Okay. Sitting right there behind my webcam. Richard Pant batting. Lino bowling. The GOAT. Oof. Indeed. And yeah, I probably won't do too much more on him. I have primed this girl. Ready to paint. So, we'll do some fun stuff with her. Maybe. I think I'll actually just do her Zenithal Prime while I'm at it. So as you can see under here, I forgot to gap fill this neck part, but fortunately PVA glue can be used to fill gaps like that pretty easily. That's the way it's gonna be forever now. Take a whole loneliness, wrap it up in some tenderness. She'll be there. Just doing some stuff on this guy. Then I'll start. Don't know. Might be. Alrighty. Let's do some of this girl. Greens, I think. We will use greens today. Red hair. Yeah, I can do red hair. Haven't done red hair in a while. It is my favourite colour hair to paint. Hello, Wishy. Hulk! How are you, Damo? Bum, 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 bum. No, there's actually TV up there. I'm watching the cricket. This wouldn't be the great Troy Forster Biskinders, would it? The great man himself. You are one of my painting inspirations, mate. One of the people that inspired me for a long time. So without you, I would not be here today painting cool models. So thanks for that. Oh, I think if you spent as much time painting as I did, you would still be far, far better than me. But you went and had kids, didn't you? Rookie mistake. Oh, looks as though the stream has frozen. So this happened yesterday. Let me see if I can fix it live on stream. Yeah, I know. I think it has to do with the cam link itself. Um, so I'm using a little gizmo. Whoa. That uh, boom, fixed it. Nice. Yeah, I'm using a little gizmo that allows you to take a video camera or even a digital SLR and connect it to your computer as if it was a webcam. It has the encodes the picture so that you can stream it. Because this is a pretty good camera, 4K camera. So, but I've been having some up and down issues with it since starting with it, where every now and then it'll just switch off or freeze, and I'm not sure the specific reason for that. So I've tried putting it into different USB sections. The one option I haven't tried is reducing the quality of the stream, which is what they recommend. But for the moment, I'm not. Don't really want to do that, given that. Hello, GM Lee. That this is a small model painting thing, so having shit quality is probably no good. That's good, Skinders. Good that you still get to paint, and of course I'm only teasing about having kids. I have a niece and 2 nephews, and they are absolute rock stars, so very happy for you, mate. But yep, when I look back at my life, there's many people that have inspired me in the journey painting miniatures, and you're right up there, mate. And actually, probably to be fair, you're also one of the people that was instrumental in turning me into less of a dickhead, as I was quite a dickhead in my younger days, as you well know. Yeah, still a fair dickhead. But I usually pick my audience a bit better these days. Less of a dickhead at work. Still a dickhead to my mates. Wishy, I am all about Winsor & Newton Series 7. Hello, Xtab, welcome back. And Broken Toad, those are the 2 brushes that I use predominantly. Winsor & Newton quality's been a little bit variable recently. Had some shockers. I don't know if you can see that, but there's a little bristle sticking out on this one. This is about 2 weeks old, this brush, and it's been doing that since day dot. I didn't quite finish the Vampire X. Got some small detail stuff I want to do. But I will grab him now actually, and you can have a look. Yeah, so he's pretty cool. Yeah, about four and a half, 5 hours at the moment. So I want to do the little tabard thing on the bottom of his legs, and do a bit more work on the cloak, and keep tweaking the metal. Hello, Pharaoh Roche. Thanks for following, mate, or whatever it is you did. Not very good at Twitch or life. Yeah, the face was talked about it a bit yesterday, but what was happening with the face was it was getting lost in the armor, because the armor was all very high value, bright colors, light colors, and the face was darker, so it was getting lost. So I added some warmth to the face so that it would be a little bit more of an attention grabber. Oh, the Pixel Pirate. Hello, mate. Thanks for jumping on board. Yeah. I mean, I probably would still have liked it to have been bluey green with red tinges, but that's not the way it went. Haha. Thanks, mate. Doesn't this look like shit? It's okay. The airbrush fixes all of your problems. Alrighty. I'll try and show a little bit more of what I'm doing with the airbrush. So, never done oils, mate. I bought some, but never got around to playing with them. I will when I feel like I'm good at acrylics. So the reason for the green base coat is I wanted it to look like this model was in a green atmosphere. Forest or something like that, but I wanted it to be fairly subtle for the moment. That may change, and so I started with green. Now, one of my problems recently has been over contrasting. When I say problems, it's just something I've observed about my painting, is I've had a lot of really dark shadows in areas where perhaps there shouldn't be dark shadows. So and you may wonder why doing the brush to begin with at all. Because the airbrush works with translucent layers, transparent layers, and when it's doing a transparent layer over paint, it comes out stronger, smoother, quicker. So I'm able to create smooth and quick gradients, even if the underlying colours are rough and sketchy. No, not an orc. Oh, beautiful. Hazelwood takes a wicket. Watching the cricket, sorry if you don't know anything about cricket. So I've got most of the light values now. So now I'm going to go back in and re-add some shadows. And this time I'm going to use greens and reds. Red being the complementary colour of green. And I'm going to use my favourite colour at the moment, Scale Fantasy Peanut Butter. Doesn't taste as good as peanut butter though. I do know it from experience, yes. I have tasted it on many occasions. This is a dark green, which has come from mixing the red and the green together. Gives a greyish colour. That's what happens when you mix complementaries together. You get greys. But you get greys with a bit more nuance and richness. My airbrush is probably due a bit of a clean. This is a ready orange. So one thing you might be able to see is I'm having a lot of spattering from the brush, airbrush. It's causing lots of little droplets on the skin. Normally I try to control that, but because completely smooth skin can look a little bit boring, sort of okay with a little bit of the texturing happening here. Yeah. Moles and freckles is what it sort of works for. Alright, and now I'm just going to go back in and reinforce the lights. Hello, Eric Tapia. And I'm just going to add some more red. I usually don't need to mask that much because I can control the stream of the airbrush relatively well, but there are occasions I've masked. I actually did it in yesterday's stream. My airbrushes are in need of a bit of a clean. But they'll last till this project probably. Red hair, you reckon, Jeffy? Red hair it is. Yeah, I mean that's a pretty broad question. The colours are determined usually by where, like, I mean, what sort of model it is. First of all, this is obviously a barbarian type girl, so the first question I ask after where is my light source is what's the atmosphere of the model, where are they, what environment. For figures it's usually a little bit easier because they're in the environment themselves. But for busts, it's a little bit more of an important question, because how you choose to paint the model is going to depend on the environment that you think the model's in. So for this girl, I decided to put her in a forest. So she's in a forest environment, hence the green. We might try and do some dappled lighting later on, something like that. And yeah, so that determines the colours themselves, because the environment is what determines the highlights. And where you place the shades and where you place the highlights and what colours you choose is all comes back to that question. So you'll see some models I paint which have a light source from one specific direction. That allows you to answer those questions that you've just asked by just considering the model in its environment. I do not really do any tabletop wargaming anymore. I do a lot of board gaming though. I play board games probably 2 or 3 nights a week with some legends. We play all manner of excellent games. We did have a game of Twilight Imperium scheduled last weekend that was rudely interrupted by a COVID lockdown. W. Walzer, hello mate, what a legend. Thank you for participating in whatever this is. Oh yeah, very tricky, I would imagine. I've never tried it. Maybe this is the first one I try it on. So this is what I was talking about with the Winsor & Newton brushes. Look at that. Hairs everywhere. That's a shocker. Quality has definitely dropped off in the last 12 months. My guess is through no fault of their own. But Faro, if you want, I mean, just like when you're in a forest and you have that sort of dappled light, yeah, cool, you got it. Yeah, Arnau's probably in the top couple of painters in the world right now, in my opinion, which doesn't really mean all that much, but he's very, very much pushing color choices and challenging the rest of the conventional mini painting world. I mean, there's guys like Kirill and Lan who continually do things that blow my mind, but Arnau, he sort of takes what everyone's been doing in the last few years, the traditional sort of painters, I guess, the colours selection, and turning it on its head in a way. I got to see his work at Scale Model Challenge in Monte San Savino last year. So yeah, he's Cool dude. This is a bit of a weird shout out, but my brother-in-law's sister paints canvas painting, and she went through a phase where she's incredible, by the way. So I'm not just shouting out some shithouse painter. She went through a phase where she was doing a lot of art with naked bodies in dappled lighting. So I've looked at quite a few of her works to try and be inspired by that. So if you want to check her out, she's on Instagram. It is Bron Art. Her name's Bronwyn. She's a red hot legend. Big fan of hers. We share our stories. I talk about how I'm a professional miniature painter who does it as a hobby, and how it's really cool that I sell a model every now and then. She sells paintings for 20 to 30 grand. Chalk and cheese, really. Yeah, stuff like this. That's what I might try with her. When you say stepping up, I mean, I've been doing videos for about 12 months. And I've always been pretty active on Instagram, Twitter and Facebook. I just get a lot of questions about my approach, and thought it might be worth trying to do streaming so I'd stop getting as many questions. Has not worked. Plan backfired. But it's easy to answer questions while I'm painting as opposed to typing them on my phone. So yeah, I mean, the way that I've set up my painting area, it's not difficult for me to turn on that and my computer in this camera. At the moment, I don't feel like it's getting in my way. Every now and then I have to check to make sure that I'm painting in the area the camera needs it to be in. But aside from that, it's not too much of a departure. So anytime I sit down to paint, I'll probably turn on the stream some of the time. That's my intention at the moment anyway. Which means you'll probably see me on here quite a lot because I paint quite a lot. Whew, shot. Thanks, mate. I will. Hey, Big Nose, Oz Machine fan. Big Dino out! Great times. What a great show that was. Yeah, X-Tab, I've had a few people mention Sergio's techniques to me. Yeah, I'm a Patreon subscriber of Sergio's and absolutely love what he does. He's one of my inspirations without any doubt. He and I do use the airbrush in different ways. He tends to use his for more blending work, and I do the bulk of my painting with it, so we're sort of different in that regard. But yeah, if you want to see a real airbrush master at work, go subscribe to Sergio's Patreon. When I use the term airbrush master, I mean in miniature painting. Airbrush masters in airbrush worlds are over and above what we do significantly. I will absolutely continue to paint cool shit. W. Walzer, thank you for following, commenting, and doing whatever else I'm supposed to thank people for. Big Nose signs up to the big man. What a champion. Yeah, the airbrush revolutionised my painting when I got one about, well, it was a long time ago, but I probably only got really into using it maybe 6 or 7 years ago, and yeah, it's awesome, absolutely awesome. X-Tab, mate. It was catch. It was the greatest War Machine podcast in the land. The old Oz Machine. Absolutely loved doing that podcast. Still chat to those boys every day. We've still got an Oz Machine chat group. Every now and then we talk about getting the band back together. Maybe doing a board games podcast or something. Who knows? Who knows where the world will take us? All right. Let's do some greeny greys. Oop. Yeah, there's a few Moopsy, a couple of those guys are still playing. From what I understand, it's a bit different now. I think probably the hardest thing for a games company is continuing to make money. I know that sounds like an obvious and straightforward comment, right? But you've got to have a continual stream of income to employ the people that you employed, and the only way to do that for most miniature games is to release new products. Not many miniature games have enough of a passive income of bringing in enough new players that they can survive on income of just existing products, and so they get into this issue where they have to produce new content, which makes their game less and less accessible for a new player. I talked about one of the reasons why I really liked Games Workshop's reset of AOS, because it showed that they understand that the barrier to entry is a really important thing to keep in mind, and they wanted their game to be accessible. One of the other ways that things like that rears its head is with power creep, and I am not a miniature gamer these days, and so I don't really mind what they do. I never really minded back then, to be fair, but I think if I was a business owner and a manufacturer of a miniature game that was trying to remain afloat, that was trying to continue a successful business model, I would absolutely have my newer products be slightly stronger than the existing products so that everyone would go out and buy the new products. I mean, your job ultimately is to make money. It's not about anything else. If you want to be a successful business, at any rate, it's a catch-22, right? You have either a successful business that allows you to employ more people and produce more content, or you don't have a successful business and your content dries up, which means then you're not going to be making more money. So War Machine got into a spiral where the only way they could continue to employ the people that they employed was to release more and more content, and it got them into a bit of a pickle. And they recognise that, but it's pretty hard to get out of that. I've done a lot of games design and games theory stuff because I've been writing a game in my spare time, which will see the light of day at some point. But one of the core fundamentals of what I was trying to do with the game, what I have been trying to do, is give it a finite endpoint, not have it just continue. Know exactly what's going to be released in a schedule, stick to that, and then when it reaches its endpoint, that's when you stop and start a new game or a new product. So yeah, that's exactly right. It's hard to retain people in your hobby if you're killing off their favourite models. Yeah, that's a good call, Magnus. It's having easy buy-in, like the way they did Necromunda recently is such a good product and such a good business move. To have it be something that all the old people that have all the models still would buy into, but still accessible for new players. Yeah, the skirmish stuff is what I moved into after War Machine. We're playing Guild Ball. It just, being able to paint 8 models instead of 200 is very appealing. And that's actually probably more so than anything else. The main reason that I ended up doing what I'm doing now is because I just found I really enjoyed sitting down and painting cool models, small amounts of models. So I think that was the intention of Guild Ball. Like, I think they came up with that premise. Correct, yeah. And they did end up ditching that because their business model changed, what they were trying to do as a business changed. I mean, I know a little bit about the inner workings of those guys because I was actually going to go over and work for them in games development for a little while. And yeah, what ended up happening was Dark Souls, the board game, cost them a metric fuck ton more than they expected, and it wasn't anything other than they got their box dimensions wrong. So when they were calculating the cost of all of their shipping, they were accounting for 20 boxes of Dark Souls in a pallet or whatever it was, but because of the box height, they could only fit 16 as opposed to 20. And so what that ended up having a ripple-on effect of, they sold 40,000 copies of the game, right? So when you have to do an extra 600 or 800 shipping pallets and shipping containers, it ends up just taking all of the profit, all of the money. And so all of their plans for Guild Ball, all of their plans for their board gaming stuff had to change because all their money had to go into correcting their Dark Souls mistake. And yeah, in the end, it was Guild Ball that got him out of the hole, but yeah, they had to lose staff and stuff to do it. Hello, Skirty. And so yeah, they reached a point where I think they just said we're not going to reach that end point that we were hoping to get to for Guild Ball. And there was a few. Part of the issue was that a lot of the people that they had employed for Guild Ball they had to let go due to the financial situation, and so yeah. That's my understanding of the situation, which may be slightly incorrect, but that's as I understand what happened with those guys. Always be painting. Welcome. I plan to always be painting. What I'm using now is not a white, actually. It is a mixture of this colour, and this colour. Just looks white because it's going over a grey, a dark grey. Yeah. I mean, there was a very distinct possibility that they were going to go bankrupt, I think. And I feel for those guys because they're in a rock and a hard place, right? They're getting absolutely pillaged by people for being so late. But ultimately what it came down to is they just didn't have enough money. And so if their choice is grind and grind to get the money they need to fulfill their backers, or just not fulfill their backers, like it didn't matter which way they went, they were fucked. So, I mean, in the end, they did what I think was the only thing they could do, which was, work hard to release the game and hope that the product and on sales ended up pulling them out of the hole. And it wasn't going to, but I believe they got an external backer from somewhere to come in and give them a bit of money, a cash influx that allowed them to go. They have, I mean, I think Dark Souls is not their best game, but they're fantastic games designers and developers and really great dudes. So I want them to be successful. They've released quite a few games now, and I've been told that some of them are very good. So I don't know anything about Hawk War Games. No, never heard of them. Sorry. Yeah. Look, yeah, they got smashed from pillar to post from the community, and I think it was always going to go that way. But one thing I know for a fact is that no company sets out to be unsuccessful, and many people that are good games designers aren't necessarily good business men or women. So that's not to say that that's what I'm saying about Guild Ball and Steamforged. I think those guys are actually quite good at managing their business. They just made one mistake in calculating some shipping costs that just had massive ripple-on effects. I mean, you don't expect as a business to make £3 million on Kickstarter, nearly £4 million on Kickstarter, and have to produce 40,000 copies of a product. I mean, that at the time, that was the most number of copies of a product in the board game space that had ever been sold. Kingdom Death made more money, but that was the most amount of copies of a game. And they made one logistics mistake, and the ripple-on effect is, well, as we've just discussed. So, the reason for the green is this model's environment is the forest. So there'll be a lot of ambient green light reflecting around the model. So that's why you're seeing the greens there. A lot of the stuff I'm doing now is just grabbing colours from my palette and splodging it on, just so that we have some colour to think about how we want to refine it and tweak it. I do remember hearing a little bit about Dropfleet Commander at the time. Didn't pay much attention. Yeah, I mean, my day job is managing businesses, so one of the reasons that Steamforge were hoping to get me across in their company. Hello, Rika's Iron. Cool. Or is it Riker's Iron, like from Star Trek? Hello, mate. Cool. G'day, welcome. I started this girl about an hour ago. Cool, man. Well, I've saved the past broadcasts on Twitch, so you'll be able to see them for about 14 days. And then I'm going to convert them over to my YouTube because I'm such a tech wizard. Got this shit on lockdown. Yeah, cool. Well, since you are an expert, is there any reason why the streams I kicked over last night went over at 360p instead of the 1080p that I streamed them at? Cool. Yeah, Aussies are pretty good at irony and a variety of other things. Yep, no, it is for the atmosphere. My metal colours are always pretty variable. They tend to start out differently. I mean, for this guy I used a purple colour, purple tones for the metal. So this chick again, we've got that atmosphere stuff I've been talking about, so she's going to be greenish basically. Yes mate, all done in the last hour. Yeah, well, you'll definitely get that out of my Twitch streams. I mean, I streamed for 4 hours yesterday and I painted pretty much all of that vampire dude, so that was cool. So I have a pretty big stash back there. The back is not that big, it's only probably 20 or so models. I try to not have too many, but at the same time, if I don't have enough, I can get stuck with no models to paint because I do move things through things pretty quickly. And I'm in a cool place at the moment where I paint what I feel like. And this cool model's been sitting there. I bought it about before COVID hit last year. It's been sitting there, or whenever it released. I bought it pretty much when it released. So I think that was last year around March. And it's just one that I've bought and enjoyed looking at and thought about how I was going to paint it and never really come up with a good idea and never really been inspired to paint it. And then yesterday's stream went pretty well. I was happy with how things went. And so I was looking in my stash to see what I could do. I've got a Lady of the Lake model sitting there that I was contemplating doing, but I'm not, for some reason, I'm just not feeling her at the moment. So pulled this trick out this morning and assembled her and did some gut filling with PVA glue, and now we're here. Well, there's two things I think that make me quick. First is the airbrush, and the second is I don't fuck around. So when I sit down to paint, I paint. And a lot of people have this habit when they sit down, they've got to clean my workstation and have a little bit of a search on Facebook and change my paint water and do other bits and pieces and shit, and then bang, they've been sitting at their painting desk for half an hour and they've done fuck all. So when I sit down, I start painting, and that's what I do. Practice is obviously important as well, but it's just do some fucking painting. Do I have to note that this is an MA 15 plus stream anywhere, by the way? Rikers, mate? Do I have to tell people that I'm Australian and I'm going to swear on occasion? Or is that just assumed? You can tell I'm a real Twitch legend. Yeah, that is depressing, Nick. Very depressing. That would make me never want to paint. My whole area is set up, ready to go anytime I want. Well, Rikers, if you're hanging around for another 5 or 10 minutes, you'll get to see me do some airbrushing on this guy, girl, friend, because I'm going to airbrush this non-metallic metal. Yes. I wrote a little article recently about miniature painting, because a lot of people always ask me, oh, you're so quick, how are you so quick, and what do you do, and what's your technique, and what's the silver bullet so I can be as good as you are, as fast as you are. They don't usually say I'm very good. One of the things I talked about was sacrifice. Like, ultimately, to be good at anything in life, you have to be willing to sacrifice something to achieve that, whether that something is time. For most people it's time. You have to sacrifice something. I talked about in one of my little classes I talked about this dude who was in there, and he's a massive unit. He's got muscles all over the shop. And I just sort of asked him about, how often do you go to the gym? What's your diet like? All that stuff. And the dude, he spends 4 hours a day in the gym, and he never has any cheat meals. So anyone could look like that dude, right? Anyone could look like that guy if they wanted to, if they're willing to sacrifice the time, the effort, the energy, and give up the things that they like doing. And miniature painting is exactly the same. I reckon I could get anyone to teach to paint the way I paint in a matter of a few months if they're willing to put in the time, which very few people are. Big nose, get into it, mate. Paint some models, buddy. Have fun. You only live once. Best way to spend that life is sitting in a cramped room, hunched over a desk. Get amongst it. Airbrush time. Do, 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 do. So I'm just going to turn the... There we go. Oh, Pharaoh. Unlucky, pal. I slept in today. Got out of bed at 6:45. I was asleep in. Riker, that is also something I talked about in my article. If you're interested in reading it, it's called The Psychology of Miniature Painting. It's on Arcane Paintworks website. People often plateau in two ways, either skill or knowledge. The amount of painting you've done, I would say you've probably plateaued in knowledge, and what you need to do when you have plateaued in knowledge is read and research and look up other things. So you're absolutely bang on in what you're doing right now. A lot of people's problem is that they think they need more knowledge when actually all they need is more fucking practice. This is most definitely not practice. Good try. Yeah. 3D sculpting is my next goal. Digital sculpting. Something I'm planning on doing. Was going to be last year, but I ended up not doing that last year. For a variety of reasons. I hear you, mate. I hear you. Where's my other airbrush? There it is. I'll get around to it one day, as I'm sure you will, mate. That was this AK Interactive Ultra Matte Varnish. So it's a sealer, and it also takes the shine off of specifically the contrast paints, but also some of the satin colors that have a satiny finish. So you can use contrast paints on this area and these areas, and they have a very shiny finish. When you hit it with the Ultra Matte, it goes back down to a very dull reflectiveness, like most other paints, and so it allows you to use those colors in like a filtering way. I don't really have like a guaranteed process. It changes from model to model, and what I feel like painting, like what I feel like painting at the time. I mean, I'm excited most of the time to paint skin and metal. They're the things I like painting the most, and so a lot of the processes that I follow are all about I just want to paint those things more. So right now, I mean, I'm probably taking the metal further than I'm taking anything else. Like the skin, I haven't touched any more work on the skin, just because this is a cool stuff that I like painting. So I think there's a few ways you can choose to paint non-metallic metal. I don't think the way I do it is very realistic. It's a cartoony impressionist sort of style, but it's fun. It's fun to paint the non-metallic metal this way. Get it out, Rikers. Make it happen. You may want to try this product, Pharaohs. Might help you paints dry a little bit more slowly. In Australia, we also have very, very hot temperatures, and so my wet palette dries out quite quickly as well. I have not used pistol grip, no. I've only ever used traditional airbrush grip. I'm sure, much like anything, once you got experienced at it, it would be relatively easy to do cool stuff with it. Let's add some green. Yeah, loaded brush is cool. As I said before, champion, there's only one thing that matters, and that's practice. It doesn't matter what technique you use, it doesn't matter what brush you use, what paints you use, it's all about practice. So find something that works for you and have fun. Practice, practice, practice. Somewhere in the night. I have a fan right beside me, which, can you see that? Yeah, you can. And then I also have air conditioning just up there, which isn't on at the moment, but it will be getting turned on very soon because it gets remarkably hot during the middle of the day. So Hello, Cable Trucks. You rock star. What's going on? I don't know, am I supposed to dance when people join my channel or something? Isn't that what other popular YouTube and Twitch streamers do? Do a dance or something? I shan't be dancing. Yeah, it's a good technique. I use it a fair bit. Just whatever it takes, as Tony Stark would say. Or would have said before he sacrificed himself for the world. I do have a tendency to sing a lot. Skirty, I am sorry. One of my board gaming mates was on yesterday's Twitch stream, and yeah, he confirmed that on board game nights I spend 75% of the time singing to myself. So I am probably going to end up falling into that trap and singing to myself. So I apologise in advance for you all having to listen to my very ordinary songs that I sing. Journey is always up there though. I'm watching the cricket in the background and there's a TV ad that has a Journey song that keeps coming up over and over, so it's in my head. I'm always just singing, don't stop believing. Cool, so that's some non-metallic metal done. How long did that take people watching? I don't know. 30 minutes? We'll obviously come back to that once the rest of the tones are done, because you can continue to refine, and I won't know if the skin has enough contrast or if the metal has enough contrast until I've completed some of these other areas, but we might try a little bit of the hair now. So let's see how that goes. So I promised one of the other guys that was on the stream earlier to do orange hair. So we shall have orange hair. Assuming I can find... There it is. Mars Orange from Scale Fantasy. Whew. Haydos Barbados. Andrew PWH. The man, the myth, the legend. Haydos Barbados. Thank you for joining me, friend. Hopefully one day my stream will be as good as yours is, buddy, and I can drop. What was that you dropped? You spilled a whole thing of contrast paint on the floor, on your desk. Red paint, wasn't it? On your big orc you were painting. I remember that. I was watching your stream at the time. I didn't tell you. Very amusing. You should go and eat some food, mate. Definitely eat some food. I can't promise I'll be here when you get back, but I might be. Don't have anywhere to go for another 2.5 hours before I'm going to my girlfriend's house to hang out with her and walk the dog. So, yeah. Probably just paint some more, watch some more cricket. I might stop and go play some Spirit Island on my phone for a bit. Maybe. We'll see. Good plan, mate. Haydos Barbados. No CanCon this year, buddy. No hangouts. Devastation. Yak to yak, don't look back. I watched One Division last night. At least the first 2 episodes. Yeah, it's gonna ramp up real quick, I think, in 1 or 2 more episodes time. Yeah, I was unhappy with that as well. I think it's only 8 episodes or something. which when you put it into context is 2 full movies, or 1.5 Marvel movies. Yeah, it's interesting. I'm a bit of a movie connoisseur, and one thing I've observed that what used to be a normal length film was an hour and a half, hour and 40 minutes, and that seems to have pushed up to 2 hours and 10, 2 hours and 20 now. Most films these days are that long. Don't know. Don't know what caused that, but I'm a fan. Yeah. Yeah, I think there's a school of thought that if you need more time to tell your story, you're a bad filmmaker. But I read books very quickly. I paint very quickly. I watch movies and TV shows very quickly, and having the opportunity to spend more time with something that I love is something that I like. So, um, yeah, longer movies is fine by me. Thanks, Rikers. Have a great night, mate. Enjoy dinner with the Trouble and Strife. Just going to grab a beverage, drink of water, I think. Backslide. Don't do a lot of 32mm stuff these days. Every now and then I'll paint one. Recently did a whole pile of Kingdom Death models, and they're okay. A lot of the techniques I use, you can do in 32mm, but it doesn't work quite as well. I mean, it works fine, but yeah, just takes a little bit more time. But yeah, I mean, I paint for fun, so this is more relaxing to paint than a smaller model, so it's more fun. Easy as that. The superpower that I have is eating more muffins than anyone else at the table. And hello, girl painting. I don't think I've ever been called the Muffin Man. Once or twice I was called the Michelin Man. One of the reasons they call me Big Deno. My costume will just be a big apron. No, I'll just use my power for myself and continue to eat a shit ton of muffins. Mutton as well, I suppose. I quite like mutton. I'm a selfish muffin man. Using my powers all for myself. So this model is quite interesting because of the plinth that I've chosen to put her on, which has a front, a rectangular plinth. You can have a forced perspective. So this is the optimal viewing angle that people will be looking at this model from because of the shape of the plinth. When you have a circular plinth, like with this guy, people's natural tendency is to turn the model around, and because it doesn't have that obvious fixed viewing angle. So with a circular plinth, you sort of need to be a little bit more thoughtful about looking at different angles on the model, whereas with a forced perspective, with a square one, you can go, this is my optimal viewing angle, this is what I want people to look at, and so you can worry less about the other views on the model and focus on making sure this one is the most interesting one. So that's why you can sort of see I'm focusing on this portion of the highlighting and this area of the model, because this is, first of all, the optimal viewing angle, but it's also the direction that the light source is coming from. So from up here, so again, that's why you're seeing the light reflecting on this from that angle, why you're seeing the light from the top here, light from here, and when I finish the hair and the other elements, you'll see the light reflecting from this direction. Yeah, it's many people do turn the model anyway, but you can use that information just a little bit more to give yourself a clear best shot. We all have good profiles. Mine's on my left. Yeah, mine's probably from whatever direction you can't see me from. Got a head like a bucket of smashed crabs. Get in there and do some painting. I was playing a lot of miniature games for a long period of time, and then I started playing Gilbor, which was a skirmish game. A lot smaller model count, and so I felt like I could spend a bit more time painting, which I always enjoyed. So I painted some Gilbor teams, tried to do a really good job, and entered a few local competitions and didn't do too well. Around the same time, I did a class with Meg Maples, beginner painting class, and sort of made me interested in painting models to a higher standard. But at the time, I was still thinking to myself, yeah, I'm just going to do this for fun and keep playing my games. But because I was enjoying display painting so much, I ended up just sort of transitioning away from gaming into this. I still play board games, as I've said, but yeah, this is the hobby I have now, miniature painting. So yeah, I took it pretty seriously. Went overseas for a couple of miniature painting competitions, which was awesome. Yeah, that's what I do now. Cool. Super cool. What about you? Do you do display painting? Highly recommend it. It's very good. Very relaxing. You're never stressed out about trying to get something done for the next competition. You're just painting for funsies. I don't have a lot of patience either. Zomcob. No. But I don't really know a lot of miniature painters. I mean, I know a few of the international painters, I guess, the guys who do it professionally. Spoken to them. But I mean, there's a difference between painting fast and painting good, right? Like, you compare my stuff to the guys that do it professionally, and it's chalk and cheese. So so it's a mixture of sunny skin tone, fairy flesh, peanut butter, and ivory. So it's kind of like a light mid-tone, I guess. So you can see one of the issues with doing this is it's taken away a lot of the contrast, and so I'm going to go back in and add that contrast a little bit with the airbrush, but I'll do more with the brush as well. But what this does is it speeds this blending. It smooths out the blending really quickly. So now I'm just going to add a little bit more of that contrast back in, both figuratively and literally, using contrast paint. I rate contrast paints very, very highly. I think they're a very good product. I don't think they do what they were advertised to do, but I think they're a very good product. Yeah, this one's a slightly finer needle. So the other airbrush I have is this one, the exact same one as you. This one just does slightly finer details, so you can get in a lot thinner, a lot finer. Well, that looks like I need to clean my airbrush out because I am getting some blockages. Haven't cleaned it for a few months, so that's probably why. Yeah, I haven't tried any of those scale instants. Heard they're okay. Yeah, the contrast paints are awesome for glazing. They're pretty good for blocking in areas of colour that you don't need to be done super high focus areas. Like the last couple of models I've painted, the leather areas, I've just used Cygor Brown, which is a dark contrast paint, and that's it. Done a couple of quick highlights, and that's pretty good. Big Nose contrast paints at Games Workshop's latest and greatest paint release. They look like this, and they are very, very dilute washes, but they work slightly differently to other washes because they are more saturated, more powerful colours, and so I find they operate a little bit differently to traditional washes. And here we go now. Yeah, I've been told they're quite similar. My recipe for bone is dependent on the environment of the bone that I'm painting. For example, these ones are going to be quite greenish in tone because of the green environment, but back when I was painting Games Workshop colours, yeah. Back when I was doing Games Workshop, yeah, I just used to go snakebite leather, which I don't think exists anymore as a colour, up through bleach bone, and then a wash with chestnut ink. But it's been a long time since I've painted something like that. So to answer your question, it depends what the environment is. XV88, is that a Tau suit colour? Is that what that is? Well, I just slightly fucked the skin there because I spattered a bit too much red. So I'm just going to have to tweak that now. Which is a shame. Alright. See how that looks. Alright. Well, that's 3 hours of streaming in the can. Might call that a day there, so that's 3 hours worth of work. Anytime you're working on female skin, it takes longer than male skin because the volumes have to be much smoother. But you can see how I've worked back and forth with quick sketches and glazes to build up interesting colours and shades in the volumes. So we'll still need to re-add some contrast, particularly in the skin. The skin's a little bit pallid, but I don't think there'll be too much more airbrushing on the skin, maybe a little bit at the end. But yeah, once we add these dark lines back in and re-add this contrast in the hair, we should see a pretty cool look. I'll probably do the fur now. Well, next time I'm on stream, I guess. And that should make this model look a little bit more like what the finished product's going to look like. So yeah, any questions before I close up shop? My favourite donut topping. I'm a very boring man. My favourite donut topping is cinnamon sugar. Just the basic donut flavouring that you get from donut shops in Australia. It's the best. Best way to get started with an airbrush is to go and pick yourself up a decent but budget airbrush. I recommend the Iwata Neo. It is invariably something that you will fuck up, the brush itself, because despite your best intentions, you won't clean it properly, you won't understand what it's doing, and you need to, I guess, make your mistakes with an airbrush. So by buying a slightly cheaper one, but one that's still good quality, you can learn what you need to learn with a good brush that's not going to set you out of pocket a lot before you upgrade to a slightly better one. The compressor you buy should be a good compressor, because that is something that you'll carry over. The most important thing about the compressor is that it has a moisture trap and can go from a pressure of about 10 through to 30 psi. Most little tanks will be fine, but just needs to have a moisture trap so you can release excess moisture from the lines, because that will stuff up the airbrushing. Thank you, all of you legends, for watching me on stream and chatting away today. I'll be back tomorrow night probably. I'm just going to stream painting whenever I'm painting, so feel free to join me or not. You're all legends. See yous out next stream. And this one goes out to my Oz Machine viewers. Big Deno, out.